Okay, if someone came to your church
Mm-hmm.
or someone at your church
Mm-hmm.
or whoever,
Okay.
as a pastor,
It's a pastor.
came to you and was like, hey, I think about killing people all the time.
Okay.
Not all the time, but like, like
All the time would be pretty extreme.
or there's someone I'm really mad at, and I,
Okay.
imagine myself killing them and
Okay,
stuff
sure.
like that. What would you say to that person?
Oh, wow.
Like, how do you deal with that as a pastor?
Right.
Because they haven't done anything.
Right. So they haven't committed a murder.
They haven't committed a murder,
Okay.
but
They're coming to me saying, I'm thinking about this.
The thoughts are there.
Okay. So I think that there's probably I mean, first of all, I would be concerned in the sense of their safety and the safety of others.
Right.
Okay? Like that's like the overarching thing I'm concerned about.
Right. So how do you deal with that?
Okay. So for me as a pastor,
Mm-hmm.
I realize that so if someone comes to me and they're telling me these things, like I think it's one thing if someone comes up and they're like, hey, I'm really upset with this person, and this one time I had this thought.
Right.
Does that make me an evil sinner? Does that mean that I'm going to hell? Does that mean that, like, am I really screwed up?
Mm.
You know? And my answer to them was like, no, this doesn't mean you're going to hell. This doesn't mean that, you're really screwed up. Because like you said, actually, we have thoughts. When, we get angry, we get upset.
Mm-hmm.
People can do this on both sides, taking of their own life and the taking of another. And realizing that those thoughts kind of have to be like, you really have to be able to see the facts that, like, all right, are those my thoughts that I'm just recurring, right? Or is it something that is maybe a little more abstract from me?
Mm.
And so that's what I would be like wanting to know, like, all right, so what's the degree to this thing? And if it's one person that just feels really bad about, man, I thought this thing one time about someone, okay, I would reassure them, probably keep checking in on them for a little while, but more than likely not be as concerned.
Okay, what if they're thinking about it all the time?
Yeah, if they're thinking about it all the time, or like it's a very present thing, and you can just tell they are just mad as hell, then I am more concerned at that point.
What would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Well, I would really want to counsel them to go see a counselor that's more equipped to handle it than I as a pastor am.
So they tell you this. They're
Right.
like, hey, I'm thinking about
right
murder all the time. And then they're like, all right, see ya. I'm going to go hang out with my family.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Well, I really think it depends on the context, because I think it depends on, like, all right, are they a juvenile? Right? Like, they're like a teenager, or a young person, right? Well, then I'm calling parents immediately.
Okay.
Like, I'm not letting that just fly, right? If they're married, my question is, does your spouse know? If they have kids, are the thoughts directed toward the kids, or no, or not? You're right.
Right.
All these things matter.
Right. So what do you do?
How I would handle it.
They say I'm this close to killing my kids.
Right.
See ya. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. If they're like that, and it's like regard to their kids.
Yeah.
No, like I'm calling the other spouse. Like if there's another spouse or the kids, and I'm like, hey, y'all need to go somewhere.
Do you call cops ever?
Man, that's a tough one, because they can't really get involved until something has actually happened.
Right.
You can say, hey, if this is like really, hey, can you get in the car with me right now? And will you go with me to a psychiatric hospital?
Okay.
Like that would be my preference for that person. Like, will you get in the car with me right now and go with me here? And I realize I'm taking probably in my own risk of them getting in a car with me if they're that mad. But I'd rather do that than just
drive quickly so they die too.
So, but I think that would probably be the first move. Hey, can I get you somewhere where you're going to be safe in the sense of, hey, like, so if I take him to a psychiatric hospital, for example, or even to like an emergency room and tell them he's having thoughts like this, like he's immediately going to be put into a psych ward for a minimum of 3 days.
Right.
And so you at least have that amount of time to kind of figure out a game plan and to allow counselors to see them and figure out, is this something that is like imminent?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are they on the, like, are they on the verge of like a mental break, or can this be worked through,
right,
with families still being involved, like living with family, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's out, and even if it's like outside of family and they're at that state, that was, still be what I would want.
Okay.
For them. But I'm letting even if they don't want to let the family know, I'm letting the family know.
Okay. So you go around them and not listen to what they said.
Correct.
Okay.
Because as a pastor, like I have a responsibility to be concerned, again, not just for their own welfare, but the welfare of others.
Right.
So.
Okay. So what if someone came to your church or whatever and was like, hey, I killed someone this morning?
Okay.
Yeah. What do you do?
I'm calling cops.
Okay.
Bottom line.
All right.
Yeah. It's not like I'm going to sit there and be like,
and they're like trying to confide in you or whatever and feel sad. You call cops.
No, I'm calling cops.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like
and you'll go sit on the stand and say, hey, they came to me and.
Yeah. So and this is things like for pastors. So
how does stuff like this go for pastors?
Yeah. It is actually.
Basically, this is what I'm asking.
Yeah. It's actually tricky.
Okay.
Because we do have individuals can come to us and tell us things in confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are expected not to break that confidence.
Because priests with confession deal with this all the time.
All
right?
the time.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's so we are told, like, as a counselor, as a pastor, yes, they can confide and I keep everything secret or to myself, right? I never discuss it with anybody else, okay? Outside of another professional, like within my world. And so, or another counselor. But I have I will say this, it also depends on the states you're in. Some states have differing mandatory reporting.
Right.
Than others. And so it does depend on the state you're in. And so, but for me, when things come across, and this has happened, like when things like sexual abuse come across, I'm calling, I'm calling somebody.
Okay.
And
cops.
I'm calling cops. We have someone in the attorney's office that we know, they're a victim's advocate. That's my first phone call.
Okay.
And so if someone's a victim of something, right, of sexual abuse, and again, obviously, when I say that, I really mean more of if this has happened to a minor,
right?
Okay. If they're an adult telling me about it, it's actually up to them to report sexual abuse. If that makes sense?
Oh.
Yeah.
If it's not them that did it. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. If they have been sexually abused,
right,
as an adult, that's up to them to make that decision.
Oh, to report it. Okay.
For a minor, I'm reporting it.
Okay.
Yeah. If something happened to a minor, I'm reporting that. If someone comes to me in that situation you just mentioned, hey, I murdered someone this morning, just need to tell someone, or just, and maybe they're very distraught over it, whatever.
Yeah.
But okay, you're distraught, you're upset, but we need to own it. And by owning it means we need to get authorities involved. And if
I'll be right back.
Right. If they're not willing to make that phone call, then I will. Now, where it gets dicey is testimonies on the stand.
Okay.
I have been in courtrooms before where a judge will not allow me to testify because of my role as a pastor / counselor.
Oh, okay.
And that has been at times very frustrating for me.
Because you had information.
Because I had information. But the judge would not allow me to
I didn't know you'd been in court before.
I have.
For stuff like this.
Yep.
Cool. I mean, not cool, but
yeah. And And some pastors may not want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, because what the concern would be, well, if you break confidence here, will people trust you?
Right.
But I would hope that they could understand the difference of being trusted with your normal things that come across my way versus when a minor is sitting there telling me they've been sexually abused,
mm-hmm.
right? Or in your example, if someone comes to me and says, I committed a murder. Like, in other words, I would hope people would be able to make the distinctions between those things.
Right.
Now, in some courts, they would only want me to testify if I was the only option. Like, in other words, if they could get the conviction without me testifying, that would be their preference.
Okay.
And probably would be mine too, to be honest with you. However, again, in situations like what you brought up or sexual abuse, like I just, if there's someone that's raping someone, I want them in jail, and I don't care if I have to break confidence. Right. And, so anyway, so there's I don't know that, hope that gives some context for how I would handle things.
No, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Or not cool.
Yeah. Not
whatever.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. But the whole pastoral confidentiality thing can be tricky at times.